Obviously, in this moment, all our thoughts are still very much framed by the pandemic that has deeply disrupted education all around the world, and most notably in a country like India. But the future will always surprise us. I think we need to take that to heart, that there will be many new developments. Climate change will affect our lives a lot more than the pandemic. And artificial intelligence will question what our approach to education. Our school systems have done very well to educate second-class robots, people who are good at repeating what we tell them. But in this age of artificial intelligence, we need to think harder. What is it that makes us human? How we can develop those kinds of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And there will be many more forces shaping the future of education. We analyze them regularly at the OECD. When we surveyed school leaders in the PISA assessment, they were very confident that a lot of this already features in the curriculum. You can see here 9 out of 10 school leaders say, yes, climate change and global warming are part of our work in schools, or gender equality, international conflicts, poverty, migration, you name it. This is part of our agenda in school. But when we surveyed students in PISA, we got a more nuanced picture. Take the example of the environment. On the one hand, young people say, looking after the global environment is really important to me. The climate agenda has become important, has become urgent for 15-year-olds. But when you survey them, can you do something about it? Do you feel you have agency, you have influence on this? The bars get much shorter. That is the dilemma of our school system. We have often made students to passive consumers. We basically teach them lots of stuff, but we are not giving them that sense of empowerment, that sense of agency, that they can change the world. And that is so important in tomorrow's world, where young people need to, throughout their lives, not just learn, but also unlearn and relearn when the context changes.
Can you give me an example, or us an example, of a country, a school system that has made this transition from a content-driven, descriptive way of learning and is growing towards all the attributes and competencies and skills that you spoke of? And what steps did they take? Where did they start?
It's a good question. In fact, I think in many countries, you find schools who are well on their way to do this. I think it's not so difficult to find schools that are actually doing a lot to strengthen that sense of agency, that sense of learning, rather than just, transmitting content, where students are active learners rather than just passive recipients. When you talk about education systems, it's much harder to find them. In Europe, there are some. If you look to Estonia and Finland, what they did actually, they did, first of all, they changed their curriculum. They put greater emphasis on the capacity of students to, do things rather than just learn things. They defined the educational content through phenomena rather than specific disciplinary content. So students would encounter real-world problems and then had to learn how to approach those problems through different disciplinary lenses. So that's the curriculum side. The hard part is the teacher development. Basically, if you want students to think across the subject matter perspectives, you need to have teachers who are connected across the subject matter, who are actually capable to work together to frame, for example, project-based learning environments and so on. And that is very hard to do, to basically at a system level, create a school community where teachers learn to see problems through different disciplinary lenses, and where, for example, as a sports teacher, you do not just think about, making students athletic, but use sports as a way to give students, self-responsibility for themselves, responsibility for others, to develop courage, to develop leadership. So every, teacher suddenly needs to think about the disciplines through those kinds of lenses.